I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! This is the card I'm going to show you today. I showed a very similar card. I had just received my pre-order that we demonstrators get to get, but I did not have very much of the cardstock for this new Call Me Clover in color. So I really wanted to stretch it as much as I could. So I did not on that card have this border layer. I only had these little pieces of the green color, and then I used ink for the rest. And I had a lot of people wondering how I did this. So I promised that I would show that at my next workshop. I'm using Rooted in Nature, which is a wonderful new stamp set. And I'm also using the Nature's Roots framelit. I'm using the Layered Leaves Dynamic Textured Impressions folder, and a little bit of this wonderful wood textured designer series paper. I have used this a lot. I just love it. My cardstock is very vanilla. This is just the regular very vanilla, though you could use the thick. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Standard card base. This is the layer that I did not include on the other one. This is the Call Me Clover that's 5 1/4 by 4. I have a piece of Very Vanilla that's 5 by 3 3/4. A 1-inch strip of that wood grain, and I chose a different one than my sample, and then a 3/4 piece of the Call Me Clover. I also need a scrap of Call Me Clover, and I could actually use the center, and I think I'll show you how to do that. We only need the border, so I'm going to cut it up from the center. I'm bringing in my Big Shot, and I've raised you up a little bit so you can see better. I've got my magnetic platform, but you could certainly use the regular one. I've got one clear plate. I'm taking out the outline, and also this piece here. This actually embosses. It does not cut, but they do have the same shape. So I'm going to stick that right in the middle and cover it up with another clear plate and run it through. And that pops right out. And I found it's actually easiest if you put it back in the puzzle piece, and so that kind of holds that piece still a little bit, and I want to put this piece right on top of it. And that does a real nice job of embossing. We actually have a new embossing platform that will do an even deeper embossing with this framelit. And while I've got the Big Shot out, I'm going to switch over to the regular Big Shot platform without the thin die adapter. I only need one plate, and I'm getting out the Layered Leaves folder, and I'm just going to put that green piece in under the clear plate. And I just love that folder. Big Shot work is done, so I've pulled my camera back down again. I've got that piece of Very Vanilla, and I want to mask the right side of it. I've got a piece of window sheet this time. I have used low-tack painter's tape, and you could also use a giant sticky note, whichever one you want. Getting my Versamark ink out and the large leaf. This does have a stem end, and I think I want the stem end on the top. And I'm going off the edge, so I just want to get a scrap of paper underneath. And you really only have room for 3 of these leaves. And you do want to have them kind of random and going off the page and over the edge of this mask. Once again, I have proven that I cannot create a card, narrate the process, and work the camera all at the same time. I neglected to turn the camera back on to show when I sprinkled the card with the clear embossing powder and then used the heat tool to melt it. And so you don't get to see that part. Hope you can figure that out without me showing you. Got my Stampin' Pad again, and this time I'm going to cover up right over where I had it covered up before, so I'm masking directly over. I've got a Stampin' Sponge. I'm just kind of scrubbing a little bit on my scratch paper so it doesn't get really spongy. And I'm just rubbing. I'm not only rubbing on the leaf, but I do want to be sure and rub on the leaf so that shows up plenty. And I kind of like having the window sheet as a mask because I can see what it looks like. When you use opaque mask, you can't see. Now I'm getting the little leaf, again looking for that stem end. And I'm just going to stamp over, and I'm stamping right directly over the other leaves, just ignoring those other leaves at this point. We're going to give that a minute to dry. Bringing in my Stamparatus. This is a red rubber stamp, so I do not need this black foam that comes with it. That's for the photopolymer. I'm putting one plate in. Some people have found that the gap is a little bit larger than they would like, and so I have created a shim for myself. I've used a magnet sheet, some of our grid paper, and then window sheet on top of that just so I can clean it, and that has been perfect. I'm going to place my card right in the corner, and I want to put my stamp in the vanilla part here, close it, and that picks it up. I can make sure it's nice and solid in there. It's helpful to put just a stamp case underneath, and I'm grabbing my ink and I'm just going to ink up my stamp and close it. I didn't even need to use the magnet. This is the simplest way to use the Stamparatus. If I didn't get a good inking, I could just redo it. It makes it really easy, especially for people who are a little shaky. Now that this is dry, I just want to use a tissue, and that gets out any of the extra ink that might be sitting on top of the Versamark and brings that white forward. I think I'm ready to assemble my card. I'm just going to put adhesive. Doesn't really matter which adhesive that you use. Center that, and that covers up that hole in the middle. No one will ever know. I want to flag the ends of my banner, so I'm just sliding it in. I have a piece of grid paper in here that I've just taped on the very end, and so that makes it easy for me to line that up a little bit better. This one should fit perfectly. It's a little bit wide, but it'll work. I want my green just a little bit shorter than the wood, and so I'm just going to trim it a bit. I want to tie this around the wood, and I'm just kind of pulling the twine to get rid of any kinks that it might be in there. And I'm not worried about tying it up near the top where it will eventually go. I'm tying it down below where it's easy to get to. Bringing in my third hand. Yeah, old alligator clip from the electrical department of the hardware store. This twine is almost like tying your shoes. Not difficult at all. And then you can make it small. And then once it's on, you can slide it up to where you want it, near the top. Adding some snail, and I'm putting this right there. A little more snail, and put this underneath. Adding my embossed leaves. I think it works best if you put just a dab of glue at the stem. And I have some of these leaves trinkets. They come in copper and silver, and either one looks beautiful, I think. And just one or two glue dots is perfect. And then my metal leaf trinket, and I still need to put it on my card layer. You will never see that ugly. And rooted in nature, you really are wonderful. I just love this stamp set. If you would like the directions for this project, come on over to my website, bevadams.com. I'll have the direct link for you on my video right here. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll have the direct link down in the description below. Thank you for stopping by. Talk to you soon.